Hi, my name's Chris Seaman. I'm an illustrator. Been working professionally for the past 13 years. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of steps here on blocking your painting. Right now, I have things going about in this area here that I'm pretty happy with. And now I want to start to think about the bottom parts of the painting and how they relate to the top. So, enjoy. So here I'm blocking in my basic colors. Not too concerned about detail, more concerned about covering surface. Since I'm working right on my white board, I can use the value of the white as part of the painting. Adding a little dark there, give a little form. Quick dry with a hair dryer. Thanks, wife. Best Christmas present I ever got. I switched over here to a smaller brush because now I'm going to start to block in the detail work. So I can get a nice clean, crisp edge right into the design work on the corset. I think I'm using a one-liner. A liner holds the paint, has a nice flow from the brush, as opposed to a round. So I can load the brush with a little bit more paint. So here you can see kind of how the process works a little closer, get in those details, and then I can block in with a value. So now that I've kind of started to go in, I'm going in with a little more detail then, so it kind of acts as more of the texture of the ribbing, the ribbons that would be on the corset. Block in those blacks down there. Here I'll switch back over to my flat 1. It's good for edges, but also good for filling up a nice big area. And eventually here I'll go into and start to detail up with highlights. Alright, now here I'm blocking in the dragon id. Very simple, not worrying too terribly much about details. Maybe a little color shifting from cool to warm. Now when I work on the detail area, I'm switching over to a 0 round watercolor brush. Now, as opposed to blocking, I like to really work in those details. I usually work from dark to light. Detail work is usually when things start to pop. Really pushing and pulling the space. Paying attention to edge lines, shape of the teeth, the gums, the tongue. Adding in more darks up there will help push those teeth forward. Now my dragon can breathe, he has nostrils. I do like to draw with my paint rather than kind of a looser approach, following my pencil work. Adding little bits of shadow. Cleaning up my edge lines. Giving the impression of form on the horns with the round strokes. More shadow. A little more drawing with the paint on top of the tongue and the cheek. And start adding highlights with the warm light and backlight. I like to do a little bit of glazing. Pops the values. Now I start adding a warm highlight, kind of in a stippling technique. Once again, kind of drawing with the paint more. Still using a 0 round. Little highlights, more highlights. I usually like to start with the head. It's just natural that our eyes go to those areas first, so to kind of spend a little more extra time working on a head or a hand is very important. Once again, still drawing with the paint, kind of working those darks first, right over top of that medium tone that I did for the blocking. Adding in details, cracks on the scales, cleaning up my edges. And adding in darks there to push that shoulder forward a little bit. This guy was fun to paint. I had a good time. A little more shadow. Clean up my edge lines. I'm going in, adding a little highlight on the spikes there coming out of his scales. Kind of pushes it forward. Working a little warmer and hotter in the foreground as it goes back in space. Now I'm adding highlights on the scales. Paying attention to the detail of the cracks in the scales, pushing that shoulder forward. A little more warmer hue here. Punching up that face, moving that space. Wanted that shoulder to come forward a little more. See, it's all about the layering effect of this and how you push and pull the space. I'm adding a little backlight. Rim light there. Pushing that knee back, a little closer value to the dark background I have. So that head just appears to come forward just a little bit more. So here you can see kind of what I just did. Once again, it's all about layering the paint. From, I block in my medium tones, then I go in with the dark, then I go in with the light. And occasionally I'll have to glaze something back, but with acrylic it's nice because you can just add a little water and work it like a watercolor over top of it. Pushing that tail back. Get a nice distance so you can tell now it's farther back than the arm, and the head is pulled up forward. So I like to do all my detail work in this 0 round brush. It's a watercolor brush. Looking in that arm back there. So you can see too that a lot of the value structure is kind of put in place by the blocking. And then it's all brought to clarity through the detail. Yeah, adding some backlight. Cleaning up those edge lines once again. So you can see how this shifting there between the head and the arm and the tail, how they all kind of work together now, all working together. This was a really fun painting. I had a good time. So yeah, so after I get everything working in place, it's all about just going back and forth and pushing and pulling the space. So then afterwards I'll hit a nice coat of varnish on the painting, bring all those colors a little richer, the darks get darker, and there is your Royal Highness. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.